and I will record. We're recording, but I'm going to clap just to make sure the sync works. Ow. And I forgot to say, I will be recording the intro separately. So at the moment, I'm just going to say, today on That Analytics podcast, we are joined by Rebecca Durran-Stewart from UX and Y, who's going to talk about her favourite topic, because it's exactly what she does, which is UX. Welcome to the show, Rebecca.
Thank you, Amanda, for having me. Great to be here.
So tell me, where did you start your marketing journey? How did you get into this insane business that we're all in?
Well, my marketing journey is, I've been told, quite unique. So I started back in college studying business and a little bit of marketing, but predominantly business and languages at the time. So Spanish and French at the time. And I did that for a couple of years, and then I realized that studying languages, the literature piece and all those areas were just not for me. So I decided to specialize a little bit more in marketing at that point. And then at this point, there was a lot of change happening in the marketing landscape. Digital marketing was starting, analytics was a topic that was starting to arise, social media was becoming really big. And when I finished my bachelor degree, a lot of my friends and family all would go straight into, masters or work or, career paths. And I just thought, no. Something is brewing here in the market that's really interesting. So I held off for a few years. I went off and worked in a few different marketing roles, doing market research to a little bit of social media, really what was only arising in the market. And then I was really looking for a master's or another next step in my education career where I could really deep dive into analytics, really, to be honest, but from a marketing perspective. So there was really nothing out there. And then I started to realize, okay, well, I have to go abroad and maybe find some money to do that. And I thought, I got to keep working for another few years. And then magically, one of the universities here in Dublin, where I'm based, started running their first year of a master's in digital marketing and analytics. And I just thought, my God, they wrote this for me, basically. So I applied and thankfully got a place. It was a very small group of only 10, 12 people, I think, that they allowed in. And I did that over the course of 2 years, part-time as well as working. Got great amount of support from my employer at the time, which was wonderful because I would not have been able to do it otherwise. And was doing all my digital marketing analytics homework in the evening while working during the day. Anybody has done that. It's so hard, but so worth it. And and then I kicked off my actual career really then in digital marketing and analytics, and just went up and up and up from there. And along the way found my passion of UX and married all of them together.
And I think it is, I'm going to put some headphones on, so I'm just going to do a clap, because my thing's saying I could be getting audio feedback, which I can clear up because AI does everything these days, but still, it's better to have a good source so I don't have to use AI. The exclamation mark has gone away. That's good news. Talk to me for a second just so I can see we're still getting you.
Hello.
Yeah, okay. So that makes total sense to me, because I think once you get into analytics, which is great. I love all the tech behind it. I'm always learning new tech, and that's what excites me about it. And I also can see how it connects to your marketing. But because you can see that, it's just like, to me, it's a really sensible transition. You want to be able to understand the user experience and how analytics can tell you how to make it better. So for me, I think that's really smart. And I'm also really glad, because I recommend Rebecca when anyone gets too deep into UX. I know the basics. I know the basics of a lot of stuff, but I'm truly like an analytics person. So I love to be able to send people to you. So that's your UX journey. That's how you got where you are. I suppose I'm saying that term, and I know most people who are listening have heard of the term UX, but just in case they haven't, tell me what that is.
Yes. So UX stands for user experience. It's not a technical term, so don't be afraid by it. User experience really means how a user or a customer that arrives to your website or to your app, how they feel when they're going through the journey of getting to know your brand or your product or your service, and then moving through that process of that experience online to buy something from you or leave their details with you, and how they feel during that journey is the user experience itself, right? So obviously we want to leave them with a positive feeling, whether they purchase or not, right? So that they would return after and to finish that purchase, right? And, make it memorable as well so that they understand and feel close to your brand and safe with your brand. And so again, if they purchase, that they purchase again, or if they don't purchase at that point, that they come back and do so.
So how do I know if I need UX help? How would I go, I need somebody to sort this out for me?
Yes. So usually what I see is those businesses or brands that are really looking to optimize the user experience are starting to see perhaps high abandonment rates at different points in their online journey, right? So it could be a lot of exit points going out. You can see this in your analytics, of course. Bounce rate, which perhaps isn't as popular now as it used to be back in the day, but high bounce rate is, of course, a high sign that something is wrong, right? And the most obvious, if your conversion rate isn't what you would like it to be, or it has been dropping year on year or month on month, there's a challenge there for the user in terms of their experience with your app or with your website. So those are usually some of the key indicators that should raise that red flag and say, there's something wrong here with the user experience. There's bottlenecks that need to be addressed.
Okay. And I know you have 4 tips you're going to share with us that are going to help you fix your UX, right? So get a notebook and pen, or just engage brain now, because we're going to go straight into tip number 1. What's tip number 1?
Yes, for sure. So these are 4 tips to kick off your investigation, let's say, of where the UX opportunities could be. So let's use GA4 today as an example. I know there's lots of analytics tools out there, but we can apply this to any of them, right? But let's use GA4 today as an example. So if you go into your GA4 account, make sure, first of all, that you're going into a view and a property that has filtered out your internal IPs and any internal traffic. Really important. You don't want to be looking at data that includes that, because that will be skewed, of course. So have a look at your view where it's really purely customer data. Okay. And once you go in there, one of the first tips that I would look at is under the leads category. So I know GA4 is all a bit new to a lot of people now, but let's go step by step. So step 1 is go into the leads category and have a look at your landing page tab or your traffic acquisition or user acquisition tab. Okay. And in there, you're going to start to see, well, the number of sessions that are coming into your site. Start doing a comparison of perhaps that month on month or year on year that I talked about, and have a look. Are my sessions increasing? Because that's what we want, of course. Are they decreasing? And why? Right? So if any of those metrics that are important to you, such as sessions or new users, if you're trying to acquire more customers, if any of those are starting to decrease, you need to start asking yourself, why? What's the issue there, right? And start deep diving then into those metrics and into what areas or what landing pages within those reports can tell you is the actual issue, okay? So that's the first tip that I would suggest.
Before you move on, I think I just want to kind of bring in an interesting case here, because sometimes actually a drop in sessions or users might not be a bad thing. So when you investigate which landing pages they go to, you'll realize that I'm saying this from experience of my own site. You'll go, oh no, my traffic is down massively, like over whatever period. And then you look and the page that they've dropped off is a really useless blog post that I wrote 10 years ago, which is no longer relevant. For example, how to tweet longer than 140 characters is always one of the top blog. When did we last have to tweet only 140 characters? So I just kind of wanted to say it's not always a bad thing. And that's why I think it's important that you said, look at your landing pages, because sometimes you actually find out it's a good thing.
Exactly, absolutely. So context to your data is really important, and that's why you need to do not a huge amount of deep dive, but follow the red flag. If the initial red flag says something is decreasing, which you actively know you are pushing or investing in, figure out, okay, in this particular case, what landing page is it? Does it make sense, like Amanda's landing page, right? Or does it not make sense because you're putting, advertising budget behind it, right? So that's where you can just, if anything, clarify to yourself that your data is making sense to you and there isn't anything that you need to address at this point in time.
Okay, great. So tip number 2, let's get on to that.
Yes. So tip number 2 is something that I find not a lot of people know about, and has been one of the areas that I find has been the easiest quick win, particularly for marketing professionals, right? So there is a report in GA4 called your Search Console, right? And it only has a couple of areas in it, but very, very useful data. And in that, you can have a look at, your search queries, and deep dive then further into how your search functionality works, right? So within that, from a marketing perspective, you can get a really good insight into what customers or potential customers are looking for when they're searching for a service like yourselves, right? So, and understanding those keywords is very, very valuable, because you can then start to look into those reports. Well, what is the highest searched keyword, or phrase, for example? And those keywords, then you can start, because you know that that's the language your customer is using, or your potential customer is using, you can start to use that data to put it into your advertising campaigns, right? Not only as a keyword, but the copy and creative within those campaigns. So you're facilitating that conversation and engaging and really building that trust much quicker, because you know that that's the vocabulary that your customer is looking for. But not only that, you can then start to add that to your ad copy and creative, but also to your landing pages from where those ads are going to, right? Because we always want to make sure that that ad makes, wherever that ad is going, i.e. the landing page, they have to make sense. They have to have a relationship, right? And when a customer or a potential customer sees that relationship of their own vocabulary within that ad copy, and then also within that landing page that they land on after clicking on that ad, it's just a seamless journey for them, and they immediately feel very connected with your brand and with the user experience. So it's a great source. It's a little pot of secret data there that you can really utilize straight away and start making that omni-channel experience, meaning your ad to your landing page to your conversion, far more seamless.
That's a fantastic tip. So I'm definitely going to go and check that out myself, because usually what I'm measuring is kind of my brand awareness there, to see how many people are searching for me and find me. And then it is full of stuff, people searching for how to tweet longer than 140. But somewhere in there is the right data for me. And I guess that also connects to your SEO. You need to make sure that you're optimizing your SEO for the right terms, so that people find you for that. Yeah, great.
Absolutely.
I love that. I'm totally doing that.
Yes, great. Good to hear. And also, if you are an e-commerce business and you have a search bar or a search functionality within your website, that Search Console can also track that. So you can really understand within your site what are customers searching for as well. So really useful data.
That's great. And yeah, so useful for all businesses across the board. So whether you're service or e-com, so that works. Okay. I don't even think we need the other tips now. I think we're fine. But let's go. Tip number 3.
Yes, tip number 3. Okay, so let's move on to the next report. So there's a report also in GA4 called User, very simple. And it gives you just a simple overview of who your user is, right? So their demographics, their geographies, anything that it can pick up to build a portfolio of your user. Now, this is, that data has been in Google Analytics for decades, since Google Analytics started. And I find that sometimes it's ignored because it's perhaps known or assumed that, oh yeah, I know, where my customer comes from and who they are. But sometimes from a marketing perspective, who you're targeting and who is actually arriving to your site and converting can all be very different profiles of users, right? So it's a great way to check does this user profile that's actually arriving to my site, are they the same ones that convert? And are they the same ones that actually click on my ads? Because if they're all different, then we're paying a lot of money for lots of different, for a volume of customers or potential customers that don't necessarily convert. So it's a great way to check if you don't have, for example, your user personas, to use it as a means to start that process. But also if you're a little bit more mature, perhaps in understanding who your customer profile is, doing that cross-check of, are these the customers that I want, first of all, that I know will convert and are aligned with all my advertising efforts that are going to my site or my app as well.
I love that too, because I do use this one, thankfully. I'm not going to feel like an idiot. I do use this one because, again, you can also like customize these reports. So you can actually cut out all the people that aren't valuable to you at all. So it can reassure you that you've made the right choice. 2, it can pull up some interesting things. Like recently I found Netherlands and Germany are actually high converters on my website. Not enough traffic from them yet to know is that going to continue. So the way I could test that, of course, is by running some ads to those regions and seeing. And exactly. In my head, I'm going, I'll run them in English because there's no point running them in Dutch or big German, because they'll think I can speak. I know for e-commerce that would work, but for somebody you have to speak to, not so much. So I love that tip. And yes, you can customize that report down once you've nailed it. So you're actually cutting out all the people that you aren't interested in. And I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here as well, because you can also create an audience from those people. And that audience, you can filter your entire view of Google Analytics to just that audience. So you can actually see only what the people you're interested in are doing on your site. So yes, love that tip. Excited now absolutely. For tip number 4. How can you top that one?
So the final tip, I think could be really useful as well to just kickstart that UX conversation, is the last report in GA4 that's called Tech. All these report names are very short now, but sure, they're handy to talk about now. So under that Tech report, it might seem again a little scary, because I know a lot of marketers, speaking from experience, are can be a little bit scared by, is this going to be a report for just developers or something like this? And it's not. It's actually a really great report for marketers and user experience stakeholders, right? So within that overview tab within Tech, you really get a really great sense of a number of things. The most important one that I feel is a great piece around user experience is simply understanding what volume of traffic is visiting your site and converting on your site on which device. So broadly speaking, let's say desktop versus mobile, okay? Because the tablet traffic is usually, in my experience, the lowest in all of those devices, right? So let's broadly speak between desktop and mobile. Now, if we speak about the design of a user experience, how we, change the buttons, how we position content, how we help the users to navigate through the funnel, that is a very different design on desktop than on mobile, right? We're talking about different size screens and also different expectations from a user, right? So traditionally on a desktop, you might have a lot of time, you have a lot of commitment, dedication to the experience, perhaps when you're booking a flight, for example, right? But on mobile, you could be on a bus, you could be in the middle of chatting to somebody, and it needs to be quick, easy, and efficient, right? So very different expectations on the user experience, and the design needs to reflect that. So if you're seeing, for example, in this Tech report, that a lot of your traffic that you're driving through advertising means or other is coming through on mobile, but your conversion is happening on desktop. Why is that? We need to start to question, why is that? And it isn't necessarily, it could be that your customers simply prefer to convert on desktop, but it may not be the case. It may be that your mobile conversion experience, for example, your checkout or your purchase or your lead capture at the end, just isn't good enough on mobile. And that needs to be optimized. So it's a great way to just understand from a device perspective, what do they prefer to use on a device level, and then where do they prefer to convert? And then we need to address that through user experience.
And I think that's an important point, because I'm always kind of a little bit relieved that most of my customers come through desktop and buy on desktop, because that's always in my head, or or it's not called desktop, is it? It's called the web. You know, because now we
Yes.
have laptops.
That's a debate.
It's a
right
silly
there.
thing. Right. Okay. Which obviously is because I'm B2B. So most people are sitting at their computers who I work with. So that makes sense. But I guess that landscape changes. And I am seeing mobile begin to creep up. Yeah, so there will be a website design next year, I think, redesigned to make sure that I'm optimizing for that. And that's the thing. It constantly changes. And even looking at my own behavior, I would have always been much preferring to buy things on my computer. But now with Apple Pay, if a site supports Apple Pay, I'm much happier to do it on my phone. Even though I can link it to my computer, I haven't, because I'm always like, somebody will steal that and spend all my money. I don't know why I don't think that about my phone.
Interesting.
It's strapped to me. But if it's got Apple Pay, I will 100% check out on mobile. Even if it's a business thing, I'll do that sitting in my bed at night. So I guess that's a landscape that's constantly changing. In which case, I'm going to ask the question that people always ask me is like, how often should I be looking at this to kind of make judgments about it?
Yes. Do you mean this particular report or
Yeah. Or,
data
well,
in
this
general?
particular one, because in my head, that's going to change a lot. And we know now Google are saying
Yes.
that they're not even going to index pages that aren't mobile friendly. And I
Yes,
just was looking at the Google demo account the other day, and most of their traffic comes from desktop. And I'm like, yeah.
Yes. And there was a time where Google was actually penalizing websites that weren't mobile optimized. I don't think it's as much the case anymore because mobile is quite widespread now.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, any website that you do have at the moment, it should always be mobile optimized, regardless of whether your traffic is where your traffic is coming from, because you never know. As I said, a customer may browse simply your website on mobile, purchase on desktop. So it's just very, very important that that's always something that you consider in the user experience world that I work in, and I've been always trying to keep up with the trends and talking to lots of different industries and experts in it. They do say that you should always design for mobile first, right? Which is always interesting. And then desktop follows. So, that's something to consider. But I also, make sure that, to leave it with the businesses and they know their customers best, right? But always, regardless, do design for mobile. I do think it's a very interesting point, Amanda, that you made in terms of B2B. So, yes, B2B has traditionally been very desktop heavy in terms of the experience and where that conversion happens. However, I'm finding in my experience that not only is B2B more and more moving to mobile, but also those senior stakeholders that you might speak to, perhaps a marketing director or, that C-suite stakeholder, they are, more and more time scarce. They are more and more on the move now that, COVID has lifted and we're all back to our relatively normal lives. And mobile is just something that is now assumed that, you can find anything you want and really do anything you want on that device. And that includes everything from, discovery, exploration to purchase. So my recommendation here would be to really stick with, regardless of whether you're B2C, B2B, B2B2C, however you want to phrase it. Mobile first design is something that really is still relevant and something that you should consider when not only you're perhaps redesigning your website, but also any optimizations that you're doing. Make sure that it fits to that device. And even better, again, if you take even a step further than that, if you understand what type of mobile device your customers use in terms of screen sizing or, whether it's Apple or Android, that has a slightly different design as well, right? Just in terms of those guidelines of fit and brand. So just keeping that as well into account so that they make sure that they're having the best experience that you can provide to them.
I was thinking of that as well, because obviously, so firstly, I don't want to be terribly embarrassed because my site is mobile friendly, but it's not mobile first, right? So that is where I'm transitioning to, hopefully in the next one. But yes, mobile, Apple versus Android, because if you are using one of those and not the other, you don't realize that the experience can be completely different. And it's often once I've actually launched something that somebody on Android, because I have an iPhone, will say, oh, I can't find how to buy it. And you'll be like, oh no. So you have to go. So I need an Android. I did have an Android device, but it's so old now that it's completely pointless even looking at it. So I think it's worth that, or just checking with a friend. If you can have two devices, definitely try that. It's like, because that can be a big...
And again, in that tech report, you can see where your traffic is coming from. Is it coming from Apple devices? Is it coming from Android devices? And you can even break down, is it from an Apple 6, 7, 8, whatever it may be. You can actually tell, like, really in granular detail. So you can design to what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was tip number 4. So I think those tips are golden. Let's quickly go through it again, because I'm still so excited about 4. So let's just quickly go. Tip number 1 was...
Yes. So tip number 1, go into your leads report in GA4, have a look at your landing pages. Check. Are there any red flags of decreasing traffic, sessions, or any other metric in there? Have a look. Are you happy with that? Does it make sense? Does it not? Address it if it doesn't.
Tip number 2, which I think is my favorite because I need to go and do things from it.
Yes. Have a look at your search console in GA4. Have a look. What keywords or key phrases are your customers looking for when they arrive on your website? Use that data to apply it to your advertising campaigns and to your landing pages from where those ads are coming from. And your user experience will be a lot more seamless.
Tip number 3 was
have a look at the user profile data in the user report. Have a look that you're happy with that profile. Does it make sense in terms of who you're targeting as a marketer in your advertising campaigns? Are they the customers that you know are your target, but not only your target, but also those that will convert? If not, have a look at your advertising campaign, have a page. Are they optimized to the user profile you want?
Okay, I'm putting in a clap because I just messed up my sound by opening my iPad for the questions. So
okay.
That was, I mean, I'll be putting it in whatever the sound's like because it's usually good. Just, why is it? Bluetooth. AirPods. Yeah, I've had advice. Never use AirPods on a podcast. Now I know why.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
Okay, and we just go back in and I'll clap again. I think everyone's going to agree that that was amazing advice. And I definitely have to go and do some things. I'm sure everyone else needs to go and do some things as related to that. And also I love that because it means I can go and play with Google Analytics for no apparent reason. I love that. But now, before we get on to where people can contact you, I have some quick fire questions. These are really important. Your answers are crucial. Okay. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
So firstly, data, or data?
Data.
Thank you. Me too. Although I sometimes say data because, I think in this world, we listen to so many perspectives from everywhere that you sometimes just slip into it. But I'm a Star Trek fan, so it'll always be data for me. Okay.
Yes.
When you get a cookie banner appear on a website, do you dunk it or do you delete it?
I'm not sure what you mean by dunk it, but I usually accept but the necessary cookies. Only the necessary or the essential. And I will go through 4 or 5 steps to do that. No problem.
You are the second person that I've interviewed that have said that. And I'm very lazy. And I just, in the old days, I thought everyone accepted cookies until I discovered that lots of people don't. Since I added my cookie banner, it gives me a report to tell me. And I think, I'm doing pretty well. I think it's like, 40% of people now are not accepting cookies at all, or my analytics cookies, which is, to be honest, the only one I care about. So It's really interesting. Everyone clicked yes. I'm going to have to start being more sensible, but I don't think I could be bothered going through 4 menus to select.
Yeah, I mean, it depends usually on the day, but usually if I can, I would, just because, I'm so conscious of at this point in my life, I don't know how many websites I've gone on and how many cookie banners I've accepted that, just having a little bit more awareness of your data and who has it. Always a good thing.
It's good practice, although it does kill our industry a little bit.
Little.
But hey, we've got AI. It's all good. Okay. Is there one thing that you would love Google Analytics to tell you that it's not telling you right now?
I think the everlasting argument of attribution. So again, that might be sound a little technical, but really, Google has been trying to measure attribution, which essentially means, if you're using multiple channels, such as, let's say, a Google ad campaign, and then you use an email marketing campaign, and then you bring the customer to your website, can Google track that traffic, how it behaves and how it converts? And that's what we would all love, right? And that accuracy of data would be absolutely amazing someday. So hopefully that'll happen.
Okay. Yes. And they actually seem to have gone in reverse and taken lots of the attribution models away from us rather than making them more accurate. But that's another thing. Okay. That's my quickfire questions. So
Great.
If somebody's listened to this and going, oh, yeah, that makes sense, but how do I even do that? How can you help them?
Yes. So I can help. If you're a marketer or a marketing in any type of role in marketing. So be it marketing director, manager, or, a marketing executive, and you really want to understand not only how to find that data in terms of those opportunities that we talked about this morning or this afternoon. But you really want to understand, okay, I have this data, I can see these red flags, what do I do now? Right? Or you want to deep dive even further, perhaps, than what we talked about today. So I can help you with that. I can help you to figure out, where is this data? What does this data mean? And then how can I actually do something about this data to improve it, right? So optimize that user experience to make sure that you're much happier with that data. So come and have a chat with me. My website is uxandy.com. I'm Rebecca. My email is Rebecca with 1C at uxandy.com, and we can start having a chat about how to get started there.
Great. And I'll make sure I put those links into the show notes so that everyone can find them if they didn't get a chance to write them down. And is there a social network where people should follow you? Have you got a preferred channel you would like them to connect with you on?
Yes, absolutely. So I am mostly on LinkedIn. It's a great place to be. And I don't know if you would call it a handle, but my name on LinkedIn is Rebecca UX Consultant. So easy to find me. So absolutely, give me a shout there, connect with me, DM me, and we can start having a chat there as well.
Great. Thanks so much for being on the show. I know I have some work to do, and I'm sure everyone else is going, I've got to go and look at those reports now. So thanks so much.
Great. No problem. Thank you for having me.
Great. I'm just going to